Hello and welcome to another episode of the CPMC podcast. I am MC, as always, joined by CP. What's going on, Chris?
Not too much, Matt. It's third show. Starting to get in the groove a little bit more. We got to get these reps going. But our first two shows, I was looking back, I was thinking about them. They really had everything. Like our old mid-season form. I would encourage you guys listening to go back and watch those, even though you're not in the league, because it's good content. I mean, they really had everything. They had you and I disagreeing about my values as usual. We were way off. You did some fugazi rankings, and I had to call you out on them. You changed it mid show. Hopefully, we get none of that nonsense here tonight. But yeah, I mean, the first two shows they kind of had a little bit of everything.
Listen, Chris, no matter how long we do this podcast for, it could be years. We could be in our 60s, 70s doing this together, and we are going to argue. We're going to disagree, and I will most definitely put out some fugazi rankings. That being said, tonight is not going to be the case when it comes to the ranks. It's going to be spot on, Chris. But before we get started, it's the middle of March, and I'd like to give a little PSA. If you don't mind, Chris, if I take a minute or two to speak on the subject.
And
I'm a gigantic college basketball fan. I love March Madness. I love brackets, betting, pools. The crazier, the better. That being said, I don't care about your bracket at all. Nobody cares about your bracket. So when you show up to work tomorrow and you want to talk about uh, Virginia or Arizona just annihilating your bracket and your final four is decimated already, let me be the one to tell you, as a big basketball fan, nobody cares. In fact, it makes people hate you even more. So please keep that to yourself. Wallow in your own self-pity, but do not spread that on your coworkers.
Matt, true story. I have not filled out a bracket in upwards of 10 years. I just refuse to do it. I mean, there's so many other great pools out there. I don't need to fill out a bracket. It's unenjoyable. It's the least enjoyable betting mechanism in college basketball that there is. There's so many better pools.
I mean, you're not wrong by any stretch of the imagination. But again, just please do not share your bracket information tomorrow when you get to work, no matter how good or how bad it is. No one cares. It's that simple. Even though everyone's doing it, no one wants to hear about your bracket at all. Hopefully my coworkers are not listening, because I had a number of them come up to me and share their Final Four with me and how they got there. And I couldn't get away quick enough. So hopefully those people are not listening. But anyway, Chris, let's get to the fantasy football.
I was just about to say it's a football show, man. Let's get going here.
I know, but those two topics are tied in, because guess what else no one cares about? Your fantasy football team either. You ever try to tell someone, or you ever have to listen to someone tell you about their fantasy team? It's pure torture. That's why we're here, Chris. We get to talk about fantasy rosters with all the guys that do care about these fantasy teams, and that's the guys that are in this league. So we got the Tight Ends Matter League. It's a 12-teamer, Chris. The tight ends definitely do matter in this league, Chris, as you have to start two, and you're getting a point and a half for every tight end reception that happens. This isn't normally a league that we participate in. We're of the volition that tight ends don't matter. And in fact, that might as well be written on a t-shirt as we're drafting every week.
Yeah, but you know what? I mean, that's that we have done leagues like this though, with double tight end and tight end premium, and it does add a little bit of a wrinkle. I think the position's just kind of gone downhill these last couple of years. You have Kelsey, and that's about it. I mean, everybody else stinks.
Yeah, you have Kelsey or you don't have Kelsey. I remember not too long ago, someone was trying to trade me somebody, and they sold me that he was the tight end 5 or something like that. And I said I'd rather have my tight end 14 right now, or certainly not giving anything up to get to that tight end 5. But in this league, you may want to make a move like that, as they are that much more important. So for those that haven't heard our show before, let me give you a breakdown of what we have going on tonight. First and foremost, we're going to rank these teams 12 to 1, starting with 12 being the worst, 1 being the best. As always, this show is going to be broken down into two shows. So we'll do 12 through 7 on the first show, take a little break, and then give you guys your second show where we break down 6 through 1. Along the way, we'll suggest some moves that might be made, what the rookie draft might bring for you. Who knows where the show is going to take us? Let's get into this right away. Chris, this is we're starting at number 12 right now, and we're starting with the reigning champ. And I didn't dive into what kind of
Wow.
moves this team has made over the past off season, but I can't for the life of me figure out how this team won last year. I'm talking about the Gronkening here at number 12. Lineup looks like this. We got Herbert, Singletary, Edwards-Helaire, Drake London, Garrett Wilson, Devontae Smith, Dulcich, and Parham at tight end. We've got Cooks. Superflex is Mac Jones at the moment. Guys on the bench worth mentioning. We've got Thielen. We've got Calvin Ridley. Josh Palmer may be worth a mention. No tight ends at all. As far as picks go, he does have 108, 204, 208, and 210 as well this year. So he's got a ton of picks. I don't know, Chris, what the heck did he do to get this team and how did he win last year? He's got no running backs right now. He's got three-quarters of a tight end. He's missing a lot of pieces here.
Yeah, he is. I mean, there's no way around it. I don't know how to sugarcoat this. I mean, Herbert obviously is very good. Mac Jones is good enough, I guess, as your quarterback too. I wonder if he had some kind of stopgap running backs here, and was carried by Garrett Wilson and Devontae Smith down the stretch, something like that. It's very hard to tell, but anyway, we're looking forward, Matt. We're not looking backwards with this team. I think this team's just got to keep building around these wide receivers, right? You've got Herbert, you've got London, Wilson, Smith. I think it's a great trio of wide receiver. We got to figure out tight end. Maybe Dulcich will be okay. Parham's not going to do anything. We've got a bunch of picks here, which helps. 108, 204, 208, 210. I mean, all those I think are going to be reasonable players. Then you got a couple thirds in here that maybe hit something. I mean, this team's just got to keep building. He's in build mode. I'd see if I could get off Mac Jones, man. I'm just not a believer in Mac Jones. I don't think the Patriots even like him much. If I can get off of Mac Jones while he's still a starter, I think I'm going to do that.
Yeah, I think that's fair, Chris. My friends and I were joking, talking about Mac Jones, with the weight that he's putting on. You wonder if the Pats are going to use him at left tackle at all this offseason and maybe go with Bailey Zappi at quarterback. Chris, this team did shake it up a little bit. They had
Okay.
Travis Kelce and Darren Waller last year, Zeke Elliott and Aaron Rodgers as the QB2. Chris, looking at the entirety of this roster, this makeup here, what do you think he got in exchange for Travis Kelce? He was traded in February, so exactly a month ago. Look up and down here, Chris. What do you think he got for Travis Kelce?
Judging by the league, okay, and I'm taking that into account. In terms of player, Garrett Wilson, straight up. I mean, that seems reasonable value.
I think it'd be terrible value, honestly, in this tight end premium league. And I don't think his trade is much better. He got Travis Kelce in one of these firsts. Sorry, not Travis Kelce, Mac Jones in one of these first. I think it was Megason. So 108 and and Mac Jones for Travis Kelce. I don't think I love that in this league.
I mean, listen, it's super flex still, so he's got to get that quarterback. I actually, knowing the context now of the moves he's made, the guys he's jettisoned off, I think he's headed in the right direction. I think last year winning was probably his last stand. I mean, we're seeing it here. He isn't really. I think he kind of got lucky a little bit last year. Won the title, decided, hey, I got lucky. Let me just hit the reset button, move off of these guys, get what I can. Maybe he took a little bit of a hit on that Kelsey deal, but overall, I think it's a reasonable turnaround to kind of go with the youth movement here.
Yeah, I mean, I love it. I really do, Chris. We talk about this on the show all the time about, hey, that was your last hurrah. Now it's time to break it down. And teams don't usually want to do that. They want to run this team into the ground, see what they can get. I think he may know he got a little bit fortunate last year, and he's breaking this thing down before it becomes too late, especially with guys like Waller and Kelsey. So tip of the cap here to Gronking. I think this is the perfect way to do it. Even if, like you said, give up a little bit of value, I think he's doing the right thing. So really job well done there by Gronking. Let's get to our number 11 team here, Chris. We don't have to go far. We got Mini Winnie here in the same division as our number 11 team. And we're looking at, he currently has Tannehill, Robinson, Algier, Elijah Moore, Deontay Johnson, Sky Moore. We got Mitchell and Hendershot at tight end currently. Carter and Kyron Williams. Obviously, those guys are not going to be there because we've got Kyler and Jalen Hurts sitting here on the bench. We've got Khalil Herbert, who's going to be an interesting play this year. Kadarius Toney, Julio Jones. We'll see what happens with him. And we got a Conco at tight end sitting here on the bench. So not a whole lot. We do have Pitts on IR as well as Wan'Dale Robinson. He's got 103, 110, and 111. Chris, this team just isn't very good, right? Even if we put these guys in here, it still has a massive amount of holes. I'm not even counting him as having a running back besides Herbert. We'll see what happens with Algier. I mean, there's just a massive amount of holes here that I just don't think 103, 10, and 11 are going to fill. You know, we obviously love the quarterback position here with Hurts and Murray, with Tannehill kicking, but this team still has a lot of holes. It's going to take a Herculean effort from Kyle Pitts to get this team out of the bottom. I've got this team at 11, Chris. Could he be maybe 9-ish? Maybe. But I think I should have said this at the top. 8 through 12 are pretty much the same for me. Got no shot. 1 through 7 all do have a shot at the title, but this team's at the bottom for me.
Yeah, but I think you would agree it's headed in the right direction, right? I mean, we have a very solid young core with Pitts, Murray and Hurts, the QBs there. I mean, we've got Deontay Johnson. It's a shame Elijah Moore. It seems like he's not going to work out, which is unfortunate. But I do think he's heading in the right direction with these with these picks and Pitts and Hurts and Murray. So I think he's got the makings of a core here that could be very competitive in the next year or two. One guy I think, Matt, and this is, I got to get your opinion on this guy because I think the range of outcomes on this guy is like massive, and that's Kadarius Toney. Juju Smith-Schuster just signed with the Pats. He's gone. I wonder if Toney takes a bigger role here. The Chiefs haven't really gone out and gotten anybody. They're rumored to be looking at wide receiver at the, in the back end of the draft in round one. Obviously, if they take someone, that guy may step in. What's your thoughts on Toney this year?
I'm going to answer your question with a question of my own, Chris. Is his name Travis Kelce?
I hate this game when you play it. Let me think about that. I'm going to try and connect the dots. His name is not Travis Kelce.
I mean, and that's just it for me. I think we've seen it over the past few years. Unless you're a mega talent with a particular skill set that serves the Chiefs, a la Tyreek Hill, it doesn't really matter unless your name is Travis Kelce. I think he's gonna be fine, but I mean, how can we assume that he's going to be anything more than like a gadget guy? They had plenty of chances to get him involved, and it was nothing more than like these little swing passes, these little misdirections towards the end of the year. So is a full offseason going to help? Sure. Is a full, year with Patrick Mahomes going to help? I assume so, but I'm going to be honest, Chris. I'm not holding out massive hope for Kadarius Toney.
No, I'm not holding out hope, a massive hope, but I think between Sky Moore and Kadarius Toney, I think if one of them can kind of just give you the production that Juju Smith-Schuster gave last year, I think you've got yourself a reasonable wide receiver three, and I think that's all you really are asking for out of those guys. And you can continue to add with these picks here. I think the interesting spot is this 103, Matt. He's obviously set at quarterback. The 103 projects to be a quarterback, whether that's Stroud or Young. It projects to be a quarterback because Bijan's going 101. We already know this. Do you
Yeah.
trade out of that pick?
I mean, you have to. You cannot stick and pick there if you've got, Hurts and Kyler Murray just sitting here. You absolutely can't take it 103. I do like 10 and 11 because I wonder there's a couple of good tight ends in this draft that may push a little bit of talent down. So I'd love to get back into the 108, 109 portion of this draft. I mean, can you get like a 107 and 108 for 103? I think you probably can here. And then if you're drafting four times at the end of this draft, I think you're picking up a great deal of talent. He's got two firsts next year. Listen, I said he's not very good this year, but I love the direction that this team is going. You mentioned a very solid foundation, and I think this team's going to be set long term. I love that he's got two 2024 firsts. He's got the three this year. The way this league is set up, I think he's going to find himself with a good bit of talent towards the back end of this draft. So, job well done here by Mini Weenie. And let's get to our number 10 team, Chris. We're going to go down the crab cakes and football here in the Gates division. This is my number 10 team. Again, could have been shuffled one way or the other here, a couple of spots, but we've got Watson, Cook, Pierce, Ayuk, Jamar Chase, Claypool. We've got Fant and Andrews at tight end. We've got Jameson Williams at flex, Trey Lance at our super flex, Jacoby Brissett, probably worth a mention with this team in particular. Kareem Hunt, Samaje P. Ryan Chris, we've been talking about him for the past couple of weeks. Love
Oh
that he
yes.
Love that he ended up in Denver. Alexander Madison's an interesting piece too. I know he serves as a handcuff for this team with Dalvin Cook up here, but could Alexander Madison have some standalone value if Dalvin Cooks gets dealt? It's possible. Dalvin Cook, excuse me. Down here, we've got not a whole lot at tight end or anything else on the bench. In terms of picks, we've got nothing to speak of for this year. We do have an additional first and second next year. Chris, I mean, he's a notch above this team. If we don't have Trey Lance at quarterback, we might see the bottom fall right out. I like the build. It's a lot of young wide receivers. But listen, Noah Fant is a hole for me. Damian Pierce might be a hole at running back. I love Ayuk, Chase, and Jameson Williams here, but how can I put this team as a title contender, even in the playoffs?
I mean, I definitely think it's a notch above, right? But with the ambiguity of Trey Lance right now, it's hard to justify any higher, um, than 10, right? It's hard to justify him any higher than that. Just because we don't know what the heck's going to happen. I actually do like Jacoby Brissett, Matt. I think he could win that job and be the guy and be a reasonable fantasy contributor. But, a lot remains to be seen here, as of March 16th. So it's a tough spot, tough way to rank this team. A lot of question marks. Dalvin Cook, where is he going to be? Damian Pierce, is he going to remain the guy? You love Jamar Chase. Listen, and his QB1, Deshaun Watson, right now, he did nothing last season. I mean, he was not good in Cleveland. Is that just magically going to change this year? I don't know. It could, but it may not. And I mean, this team may just not be very productive. Let's see what happens with Claypool. He may not be in Chicago. Who the heck knows? I mean, there's pieces here. I think this team could score some points. I have a hard time seeing the ceiling for this team, and I think the floor could be very, very low.
That's a good point. I'd move Dalvin Cook as soon as I possibly could. If he gets any type of good news with his destination, if it's not with the Vikings, I think I'd try to move off of him. If he stays with the Vikings, I'd try to move off of him. Not having any picks this year is going to hurt a little bit. I wonder if, really focusing on a couple years down the road might be the best way to go. Do I let go of Jamar Chase right now and try to max out if that's possible and try to add three pieces for him right now? Because this roster is going to have holes in it, Chris, and it's not getting any better for next year because he's not adding any picks this year. We talked about guys on the bench. They could be okay, right? Guys like Kareem Hunt, Samaje Perine, but these aren't game changers. These aren't guys that you can thrust into the lineup by any stretch of the imagination. So, by next year, we could have a Dalvin Cook size hole. Pierce, I mean, are they going to continue to go with him? Noah Fant. I mean, there's holes on this lineup. It's not getting any better with this year's draft. Yeah, it's nice that he's got a couple next year, but we're going to at some point need to add something to this lineup, right? Why not try to bottom out, give up Jamar Chase for a slew of picks, see what happens?
Yeah, it's a very interesting spot because this team, he's got the players to score points, but like you said, there's no real game changers here aside from Jamar Chase, and everybody else is just kind of average, right? And so you're really not going to be competing for a title with this team. He's going to have some questions. I mean, he's going to have to figure some things out. That's all.
All right, Chris, let's head to our number 9 team. We're going to Danbra. Sharp division, Dambra, 24. Looking at a lineup of Patrick Mahomes, Rashad White, Travis Etienne, DK Metcalf, AJ Brown, Al Lazard, Cade Otton, Juwan Johnson, Isaiah Pacheco, and we've got Isaiah Hodgins, Curly, and Superflex. Could it be Desmond Ritter? Could it be Bailey Zappi? Other guys we've got here, we've got we've got Jarvis Landry, Paris Campbell signed with the Giants today, Chris. I wonder if that's any type of news. We got Darnell Mooney as well. Tight ends down here, we've got Albert O. Boy, did that experiment not pan out. Jelani Woods, Bellinger, although Waller's going to be taking his reps. We do have 106 and 109 here, Chris. Actually, he does have a couple extra, or he's got an extra 2024 in tow as well. Boy, we've not really been seeing Patrick Mahomes' team ranked so low, but without a current quarterback, too, and I don't know if 106 and 109 is going to produce anything. This may be a team that goes to that 103 spot that we were just talking about, Chris. Maybe it's a 109 and a piece. I think 106 and 109 might be a little too much, but it may not be.
Boy, we are in midseason form here. You're reading my thoughts and stealing my takes here. That was my first instinct here. Let's give up 106 and 109, get that 102 or 103, grab a quarterback. But and then thinking through it though, I wonder if that's the move though, because I think with the second quarterback, this team could potentially be ready to win. Like with Mahomes, ETN, Metcalf, AJ Brown. I mean, these are guys that are producing. These guys are scoring points. Isaiah Pacheco, Rashad White, they're scoring points right now, and they're going to score points for you. You've got decent depth on the bench here with Jarvis Landry, Paris Campbell. I mean, yes, you do need a little bit more, but can like 106 get you? I mean, what gets you Kirk Cousins on this team? Can you get Carr or Cousins here for one of these picks and then use the other pick for some more positional help? I feel like there's things here that we could do to really kind of make this team content. If I've got Patrick Mahomes, Matt, I'm not wasting any years kind of, piddling around in mediocrity. I'm trying to win and win now if I've got Mahomes.
Yeah, that's a good point, Chris. And that's why I think this team is headed in some direction. Might be multiple directions. He's got an extra 24 first. He's got these two picks in 2023. But listen, you've got these tight end holes as well, Chris. I mean, Cade Otton and Juwan Johnson, they produced a little bit last year, showed some flashes and glimpses, but nothing that's going to be consistent. I don't think getting yourself a Kirk Cousins makes this team a contender right away. I think it's a few pieces away. So I think we've got to go one of two different directions, Chris. Unload all these picks, 6, 9, our 2 picks next year in an effort to get some veterans that can produce. So we don't need to get aging veterans either. We can get guys in their, mid to late 20s here to fill all of these holes, fill the tight end spots, fill that last quarterback spot, get a little bit more depth. And I think that puts us in a better position. If we're not going to do that, then we've got to, I think, move off of some of these guys. I would move off of Pacheco. I might even move off of Patrick Mahomes if I can bring in a haul for him. It can't be hedging our bets here both ways, Chris, because that's how you end up in 7th, 6th, 7th, 8th place for years to come and just having a decent bit of talent on the team. So I think we've got to pick a direction and go.
Mark my words, Matt. I'm if I was in charge of this team, I'd be buy. I would be buying all day here. I'd be buying a quarterback with one of my first round picks. I'd be trying to get. I don't even know if I'd buy a tight end because I'm not getting Kelsey here, so I don't really care. I'd be trying to buy Keenan Allen for 206 and a 2024 second. Me and you apparently are the only people who love Keenan Allen, so I think we can get that done. I'd be trying to buy a wide receiver or a running back with 109. And then I'd use my 2024 first. I think you could get 5, 6 players here for these slew of picks, including a QB2. And I think you could be ready to go. Juwan Johnson, how dare you besmirch his name? I think he's going to be just fine and produce for you as one of the tight ends. And then you figure it out at tight end too. I think this team is closer to winning and being truly competitive than they are to rebuilding. That's just if I was in charge. I mean, obviously, you're right. You have to pick which way you want to go and just run with it.
Yeah, I would go the same exact way. Back to this Juwan Johnson comment. I think if you look back at all 30 of our teams, I very smartly added him in probably 2/3 of those leagues last offseason. Yes, before he caught a single pass from the Red Rocket himself, I was adding him to all of our rosters. So don't you dare put that on me.
Well, I mean, here you are on our very podcast here, telling him he's not going to get any production on it, Juwan Johnson. Come on now.
I said it wasn't going to be consistent, and I think we can agree that that's fact. All right, let's get to our number 8 team here, Chris. This is the best of the bad teams. And it's not good. It really is not. We've got Josh Allen, we've got Ramondre Stevenson, we've got Olave, we've got Treylon Burks, Christian Watson. Tight end is a nightmare right here with Parkinson and Hurst. We got Alec Pierce, who I like, Kenny Pickett at Superflex. Guys on the bench worth a mention. We've got Kyle Trask. Who knows what happens with him now that we've got Baker Mayfield. We've got Javonte Williams. We're going to see what happens with him. He doesn't appear to be all that healthy. Michael Gallup, Hunter Renfrow sitting on the bench. We've got Shakir as well. I think that's an interesting play. He's got 102 as well. He's got 202, 211. He's got an extra 24 first. Seems like that's the theme here with these bad teams, which is a great thing. But listen, Chris, this team has quite a few holes. Let's say that Javonte Williams is ace, is ready to go, and is that RB1 along with Stevenson. We've still got these wide receivers that are fine and they're young. We've got Alec Pierce, who's in his, I think, second year as well. We've got Pickett. It's just kind of whatever. This team's not playoff bound at all.
Yeah, I don't think it's playoff bound. I love that he has the 102. I love that he's got this future first. I think the 102 fits like a glove here on this team. You just take the best QB, the guy you like the best. Probably Stroud, I would say. And you just lock him in. You make Kenny Pickett your QB3, and then you sit at that position for quite a while here with Josh Allen, and those two other QBs. So I like that he's got the wide receivers. I mean, this team is yeah, it's just kind of ho hum. I think it's okay. We'll see. I mean, listen, we'll see with Olave, Burks, and Watson. I mean, that's obviously the key. This team only goes as far as those three wide receivers take him. He needs them to take a leap here in year two. Burks and Watson, especially Watson, was just kind of a TD machine, but other than that, wasn't great. So he's getting these guys to take a step up. And Javonte Williams is the other big question mark, right? I mean, if he's not ready to go, this team has a major hole there at RB1, RB2. So that he's got to be ready. This team's not ready to compete for the playoffs. I agree with that, but I think you've got players at least trending upwards. And you've got a few of those guys. So I think that's a good place to be. Man, I'd be looking to move off of Josh Allen with this team. I'd be looking to get back as much as I could. This team just needs more pieces, in my opinion.
Yeah, it does, Chris. I do like the way it's built, though. I mean, you've got all these really, really young guys on this team, which I like. I think it's built the right way. But again, we always say this, to quote Breaking Bad episode something, no half measures. You absolutely cannot have that. And I think this is a half measure, Chris. Let's go full on with what we have on this team. Let's make sure that we get off the guys that we can. We've got that extra first next year. We've got 102. Chris, I might even move off of 102 and see what I have with Kenny Pickett. I know you're trying to pick a fight with me tonight when you're talking bad about Kenny Pickett, but why not see what he has? If he's a dud, then you stink this year. You're going to be locked into a top 2, top 3 pick next year where your quarterback class is absolutely loaded. Why not move off of 102? If you happen to have something with Kenny Pickett, you just might be all set there. And I think that's worth taking the risk. So I'm going to move 102 if I can and just see what I have with Kenny Pickett. And I think if we can move Josh Allen, we do that. But I mean, this is the most we've ever encouraged people to move off of like the top 3 startup guys ever.
Yeah, it's fair enough. I mean, I think you kind of have to decide, right? I think it depends what you can get more for. Can you get more for Josh Allen? Or you can get more for 102. I think it's just kind of depends who's buying.
All right, Chris, let's take a look at our team 7 here. It's our last our last ranking of this show. We're going to go to 27H Brown here, Chris. 27H Brown, looking at a team of Dak Prescott, Tony Pollard, Cam Akers, CeeDee Lamb, T. Higgins, Chris Godwin, Dallas Goedert, and Austin Hooper at tight end. We've got Jalen Waddle. Superflex right now is a little bit of a giant question mark. Currently, Jameis Winston, got Drew Lock, Andy Dalton down there as well. Guys on the bench worth a mention. Not a whole lot, Chris, if I'm being honest. Irv Smith, we'll see what ends up with him. Isaiah Likely. Here's why I don't have him lower, Chris. He's got 105 and he's got 107. I think he's going to be able to find a QB2 some way or another with those picks, either via rookie guy who might start this year or might be exploring to trade and acquire one that way. But I think it's going to get done. And that's really the only gigantic hole on this team. Obviously, Austin Hooper is a guy that you look at as a potential, um, hole as well. But maybe Likely fills that. Maybe it's Irv Smith if he ends up in a fortuitous spot. So I think this team's okay. I told you 1 through 7 are all teams that could and should make the playoffs if they could, obviously. I like this team here, Chris. I've got them 7.
Yeah, I think it's a solid team aside from QB2. And I think you're right. Between 105 and 107, I've got to make a move for a quarterback somewhere. I've got to figure it out. Whatever presents the best value is what I would go with. There's a lot of just sort of, I think this team just needs a mid-range QB. But, if we want to talk blockbuster, I mean, does 105, 107, and a 2024 first, does that get you Josh Allen with this team? I mean, that's a heck of an offer. If I'm, am I at least in the door with that one?
No, I mean,
Oh, you're nuts.
the other
You're
day when I
nuts.
told you, I mean, it's not me. I mean, we don't have any of these guys. I actually tried to acquire them in a league that I don't co-own with you, Chris. Remember, I said 107 and 108 this year, plus Tua for Josh Allen,
Oh wow,
and
yeah, yeah.
it was rejected. I added Traylon Burks on top of that, and he said I was about 70% of the way there, and I closed the chat and we were done talking.
Wow, yeah. I mean, I guess if that's if Allen's that untouchable, then I guess you have to. I would be fine going after a mid range guy, right? I'd be fine going after a mid range guy with these 105, 107. I mean, whoever that is, whether that's the aforementioned Tua, whether that's again Cousins, Carr, guys like that. I'd be happy with any of these guys that are just sort of locked into average production at this point. I think that's all this team really needs. Obviously, a tight end too it would help, but again, the way tight ends are, I'm not going to overpay for it.
Yeah, here's the thing. I like this team, Chris. It's young, it's talented. I think it's in a good shape. I think he's going to put himself in a position to be in contention for a great deal of time. So even if he sticks and picks at 105 and 109, gets himself a young QB, I think he's in good shape. But listen, going to get a tight end should be top priority with this team. When you've got guys that are ready to go, you can't be wasting years. We know this. So, good build here, but I think it's unfinished business. And that's going to do it for our first show here, Chris. We're going to be back in just a few moments with ranking 6 through 1 while you're getting yourself a quick little drink or whatever. Be sure to like and subscribe the video. That way we can make sure that you are updated when all of our new shows do come out. We plan on pumping a whole bunch out this off season. So please go check that out right now, and we'll see you on the other side.